Hey folks, Dave here. I got Chris with me.
Hello.
Not our usual opening, but today we have a very special topic. And before we get into it, I wanted to read a statement that our TMAG lawyers asked us to read before the episode. Chris and Dave are not doctors. Do not take any medical advice from Chris and Dave. Chris and Dave are idiots. Wait, hold on a second. This goes on for pages, Chris. Do you think I need to read all of it?
It's from our lawyers. I think maybe you should.
Oh, man.
Does it get worse than Chris and Dave are idiots?
You will get sick and die if you listen to this episode. I did one of those online, like, Legal Zoom. I don't know if you've heard of Legal Zoom.
Yeah.
Folks, don't listen to anything we say. I think that'll cover what the lawyers have to say. And with that, the health episode.
Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out.
That's the way you start an episode, Chris, on an important topic like health, is with a notice from a lawyer saying, do not listen to these guys.
Yeah,
they don't know what they're
absolutely.
talking about. Are you a doctor?
I am not. I do play one on TV.
Okay, well, I didn't know if maybe you finished your doctorate.
I'm a Juilliard-trained physician, Dave.
Yeah, a Juilliard-trained physician. I wonder how many people get that reference. It's one of the most sublime Seinfeld jokes because it does not waste time on itself, right? It just moves. I love those jokes that, maybe that's what this episode should have been about. Sublime jokes. Well, folks, I think I already did it, but I'll say it again. This is Dave.
And this is Chris.
Yes, and we're talking about something, we're kind of going off. We're certainly going out of our normal area, right? I mean, usually we were talking about, things we know about. Movies, TV, David Bowie, various Ataris with numbers divisible by 2600. The point is today we're gonna stretch ourselves and talk about way outside of our comfort zone. What are we talking about today, Chris?
Today we are talking about health.
Yes.
It'll be really interesting, and everybody out there listening, I really want you to give us feedback on this because it's, are you going to enjoy the more serious side of Chris and Dave, or is this just going to be, catastrophic? I don't know. We'll see.
Like our health, I think it might be catastrophic. But before we get into health, we have a listener note, a listener comment from the mailbag.
Yes, we do. It was from our YouTube channel. We did an episode a few weeks back, an emergency episode about the unfortunate passing of director David Lynch. And we got a comment on that episode that was very, very kind from @Minotaur. So, he's going to be a mythological beast, which is exciting that we are tapping into that audience as well. But he said, you guys, this was really pleasant to listen to, which I'm counting as a compliment towards our skills as podcasters, not the topic of David Lynch's death. And then he goes on to say, and now I'm finding out you made 2 episodes about Bowie as well. How awesome is that? I'm a fan already. So thank you, @Minotaur, for your comment. We really appreciate that. And we hope that we don't disappoint you with all of the other episodes that are not about David Lynch or David Bowie. Maybe we should just turn this into the David podcast.
Yes. The biblical hero, ancient king of Israel, David Byrne. Lots of big suit episodes. I mean, there's a lot of, these are the Daves I know, an entire episode about Daves that we know. There's actually a podcast there, if we were so inclined to just lean into the joke. I'm not. I don't. That was a very kind thing for him to say. I hope he went back and listened to the episodes. Instead of just saying, wow, that's great, I'm a big fan. I'm not going to listen, but I'm a big fan. That was very nice. I did not think of that episode as being pleasant, certainly, as we were recording it, but I will have to say it was nice just to sort of lean in and gush about someone that you think is very talented.
Yeah, absolutely it was, yeah. And I'm still hurting from that death. I don't know if you noticed this, but our local Alamo is doing a David Lynch retrospective through the month of March.
I did. We went, my wife and I went to the local Alamo Draft House. So if you live in an area, listener, where you don't have an Alamo Draft House, you're missing out because it is I think the last good way to experience a movie in the theater, right? I mean, I think that maybe that's being a little harsh, but The theater experience doesn't hold the same pleasure for me anymore, except at the Draft House. I still feel like that's worth it, spending the ridiculous amounts of money. And if you don't have a Draft House, you don't know what we're talking about, but it's just a great, fun, well-packaged theater experience, from the lobby to the popcorn to on your way out and the merch they want to sell you. But yeah, I did see that. My wife and I went and saw a movie at the Draft House, and that was their preview, and I'm like, watching the clips from Wild at Heart and Lost Highway and Fire Walk with Me. It was like, oh, it's... One thing I noticed, though, that was not part of their retrospective, A Straight Story.
No, I know. I was thinking about that one, too. That would be a cool one to see on the screen. But Dune is in there. Eraserhead's in there. Which, man, I'd love to see that one on the big screen. So I'm going to go a little bit further in my plug of Alamo Drafthouse and say, if you don't live in a place with an Alamo Drafthouse, you should move.
You should move, right? Or petition your local city council. Our Draft House used to be another theater. It's really weird because I'll catch myself very occasionally, like, realizing where I was in the old theater, in the new theater, which is a kind of an odd moment, right? You're like, oh, I remember when this used to be the really awful, falling apart theater that you were afraid if you sneezed inside of it that the whole thing might collapse on you, which is weird that it got transformed. But and you're like, oh, well, now it's something really special. Yeah, this was not intended to be an episode about the Alamo Drafthouse, but the theater experience does deserve a little time.
Yeah, absolutely it does. But so what is this an episode about, Dave? We've said it, but let's kind of define what this is.
Well, can I use David Lynch as an example?
Absolutely, you can.
I did not know that Lynch was ill until just before his passing, and you and I were talking about it, and then he announced that he was, basically homebound. I'm like, wow, I'm really shocked. And the reason why I was so shocked was because David Lynch looked healthy. And it turns out he was not. He was extremely unhealthy. He had severe emphysema and other things, complications coming from smoking. But he looked healthy. And I realized then, truly, I'm not just drawing a line just to have a line, but I did realize that, oh, wow, I take the aesthetics of how someone looks, and I immediately think that they're healthy or unhealthy based just off that, right? David Lynch was thin. He was well put together. He practiced transcendental meditation. I almost said medication. And I don't even really know exactly what transcendental meditation is, other than it's a form of meditating. It's pretty obvious now that I say it out loud like that. But I thought he was healthy, right? And he turns out he was obviously not. It's kind of an interesting lesson about health, right? It's not just about, I'll say it, it's not just about being skinny. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about today is being skinny, very skinny, right? That's what we agreed on.
I don't know that that's the topic. Especially with you kind of just disproving that fact right there in your little monologue there. So maybe we should adjust the topic slightly and talk about, from the perspective of middle-aged guys, some of the health issues that we've dealt with in our lives, some of the concerns that we have, some ways that we've made changes going forward to try to carry this podcast to the point where we're old guys doing the show. And I'm pretty confident, because we've had some time travel experiences during these episodes, so I think we're going to make it.
Oh, we make it.
I hope I make it where I'm still mobile, I'm still feeling pretty okay, like that. Those are my concerns. My brain is there.
Foreknowledge is a burden, and we know indeed how the future turns out. We live on Mars.
Yes.
We don't know how old we are.
No.
But we are old.
Right. I mean, my voice still sounded pretty good, if I do say so myself.
Sounded great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but I'll say it for you, so you don't have to say it for yourself.
Appreciate that. I'm so humble. So yeah, with that, I've kind of got like three big areas in my life of health issues that I've had to deal with, and some of them I think might mirror yours a little bit, but you'll put me to shame on a few of them.
This is not a contest to see who's the most unhealthy. Right? Because we won't win the healthier contest with anybody. So I guess if you're going to compete on a basis, it's, before we did that, I always like to frame things up as a question. And this is such a big, broad topic that maybe I'll just say, what does health mean to a middle-aged guy? And if you're not a middle-aged guy, you could find your own experience inside this, because it's not just us. I mean, obviously, you're just talking about what we know, but what does it mean, right? Maybe that's what we can try to answer. I did have a few facts I wanted to kind of lay out for context.
Okay.
Usually we have a little game, a little challenge. Probably too important to sully up with that kind of nonsense. So let me just say there's a few things for context. Men, women, adults, children, ages 0 through 140, 100% of them, this is from the CDC, will die.
Yeah.
All right, that's authoritative CDC. 100% will die. Apparently, if you get to 141, you don't, it's not 100%, right? You got a shot. Right?
Okay, interesting.
Living forever. 63% of smokers look cool 100% of the time. I am just saying. I don't, some of the time it works, all of the time. 63% of smokers look cool 100% of the time. And last, direct from the CDC. This one I think is controversial, but Flintstone vitamins are the best tasting medication. Now, I agree with that, but
yeah,
I haven't
100%.
tried all the medicines. There may be other delicious medicines out there.
Well, the CDC would have analyzed that, so they're saying Flintstones vitamins are it. Yeah, I completely agree with my limited experience in medicine tasting.
$80 million study just to get that's publishing. That was just to get the PDF created. The study was in the billions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Very expensive. People joke. I mean, I haven't had a Flintstone vitamin in years. Do you remember the taste of a Flintstone vitamin?
I do remember the taste, yeah.
It's weird. I do too. And I part of me is like, maybe I should just buy some and just try it. Because
my parents had to keep them away from me because they were so good. And I was just like, can I just have another one? Like, why can't I? They're healthy. Why can't I eat the whole bottle?
Yeah. And, your pee is basically orange because you had a half a bottle of Flintstone vitamins. My daughter has some. My daughters, both of them. We only give vitamins to one of our children. The other one, no. They have some gummy vitamins that are delicious, and I'll eat one, sure. 7, 8 later, I'm binging on stuffing vitamins into my face.
But it's healthy. It's good for you.
I do think that I have never once talked to anyone who has said Flintstone vitamins are gross.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I'm going to do? I need some vitamins. I'm going to buy some. I'm going to eat them.
Report back. Yeah.
And I'll let the next episode, I'll say, hey, are they still delicious? But in my mind, I don't even know if they were different flavors. It may have just been a flavor. Well, now that we've made a mockery of health and all things health related, let me ask you this. How do you feel like your health is right now?
I feel like it's not great. I have made some changes lately in the last year where I'm hoping it'll get better. You know what? That's not fair. It is better. There are, and we'll get into the details of, but I did finally take care of some things that I had left languishing for a very long time, and I am healthier. I feel better. But I've still got a long way to go. So that's where I am at the beginning of this episode.
So how do you measure that, though? I mean, what is the metric or, different things that you look at and say, okay, I know that I am unhealthy because of this, right? Or that I'm getting healthier, right? You talk about a progression. Mm-hmm. What is it that you're looking for in your life?
So I'll just go ahead and launch into the first thing that I was going to talk about as far as the issues that I've experienced, which is a pretty serious issue of sleep apnea. And I dealt with that for years, was pretty sure that I had self-diagnosed myself with sleep apnea, yet I still didn't go to the doctor. And for a very, very long time, any situation where my wife and I were just like sitting on the couch watching TV, I'd be asleep in a heartbeat, and then eventually my wife would wake me up, and instead of being refreshed, she would wake me up and be like, it's time to go to bed. And I would walk into bed and I'd just, immediately collapse again. And still did not.
I could just see Quillen dragging you in, like the fireman drag.
She throws me over her shoulder and just kind of chucks me into bed.
I hope you're still alive.
Well, and there were those comments too, which is like she would be like, I would listen to you sleep and you would not breathe for, a minute or
Yes.
better. And still I was like, nah, I'm fine. I don't need to go to a doctor. I don't need to do, anything to take care of it. And then, I would be sitting at a stoplight and would fall asleep and would be like, I'm still fine. I don't need to go to a doctor.
Maybe
and
your car has an exhaust leak. Though. Did you ever think like maybe a mechanic should be on the list
yeah,
of things?
like I'm just slowly poisoning myself as I'm driving through the city. No. So I finally, though, I was like, okay, I have to deal with this. This is just no way to live. I was getting so little sleep. It was affecting my ability to process things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was scary and it was not cool. And so finally I went to a sleep doctor and he was like, well, do you want to do an at-home sleep test or an in-hospital sleep test? And these are the words I said to him. And I hope he's listening because I'm still mad. I said, I will do whichever one gets this done. Like if I do a home test, is there any chance I'm going to have to come in and do a hospital test? And he's like, no, we're fine. Just do the home test. It'll be fine. So I do the home test. I come in, he calls me with the results and he's like, your results are a little weird. Can you come into the hospital? And do a hospital test?" I was like, come on. We had this conversation, man. I could have started with the hospital. So anyway.
Did he mention you fell asleep like 4 times during the conversation? Like, Chris, sorry, Mr. Johnson. You've been in and out of consciousness since you've been here a week. I don't know if your time passed. Very weird for you.
No, but what happened was the results of the home test were so severe that the doctor didn't believe it. And he's like, something happened with this test. And so then I went in for a sleep study in a hospital and did the test. And he was like, whoa, you're bad. You are super not good with the sleep apnea thing, to the point where he was like, I don't know that a CPAP will solve your problem. And so I got the CPAP, did the whole thing. It took me a couple of weeks to get the right mask and the right fitting and that kind of thing. But finally, when we got that problem solved, it was drastically different. Like I could process things again. I wasn't 100% sleepy all the time. Now, I'm not going to say it's a miracle cure and that I wake up, ready to lift cars with my bare hands or anything like that.
You were exposed to gamma radiation.
No, I did not. I'm not hulking out here or anything. I'm not Superman.
Well, that is the sign. If you could turn into a big green monster, that's the sign of health. You've gotten to the next level.
Indeed. But I'm not there yet. But what it has changed is, I'm no longer randomly falling asleep, which is a good thing. I'm not a danger to myself and others. So that was a decision that I made when I was commenting that, yes, my health is better. Like that's my big signpost is I can feel those changes. I can experience those changes day in and day out. And it wasn't that hard. And, psychologically was way more difficult for me to deal with a CPAP machine than it was physically. Because you'd think sleeping with a giant thing attached to your face would be a problem. Not so much. What I struggled with was a great sense of, I can't believe I need this. Like how did I get to a point where this is my life, that I cannot sleep without a Darth Vader mechanism. And so it took me several months of really being down about that and really struggling with that idea. And every time I'd go to bed, I'd put the mask on and I'd be like, why did this happen? How did this happen? That kind of a thing. And then finally it got to a point where it was almost like a light switch. And then I was just like, it's fine. It's no big deal. Put my mask on. It's just what happens now. And I don't really think about it all that much.
Sure. A machine to breathe for you is just what happens. So I have my own struggle with sleep apnea, and my story is different. It doesn't have quite the same happy ending, but similar, not to the severity level that you did. Sure, everybody sits down and falls asleep occasionally. I can't say everyone falls asleep in the car. Don't fall asleep in your car.
And if you ever do, maybe that's the point that you consult a doctor.
You consult a doctor.
Instead of being like, nah, I'm fine. It's okay.
So my wife had said some things like, hey, listen, I hear you're struggling. You're obviously not breathing right. And I had issues with sleep forever and still do. But my doctor was like, you have to have this test. And I did the at-home test and the results were fine. So I had a good experience there, right? Say, fine. My results were clear indicators that you have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
And you need a CPAP. I could never adjust to the CPAP, though. Never. I mean, I tried every mask, chin strap, without chin strap, nose mask, mouth mask, nose and mouth. You know, like every configuration, not a single one. I could not do it. I just could not get comfortable. But for me, losing weight solved my sleep apnea issues, right? I went from my wife saying, "You sound like you're going to die," every night in the middle of the night, this struggle to breathe, to you at a certain point I lost enough weight and it was just basically gone, right? Like I sounded like any other human being does when they sleep. And then with that snoring too, right? I mean, I think there's a very clear and obvious relationship between sleep apnea and snoring. When one was cleared up, the other was cleared up, which I'm thankful for, because you don't want to be the guy who keeps the whole house awake. Unless you have a cold, right? And then when I have a cold, I still...
Right, yes.
I did have a sinus surgery, gosh, like 20 years ago. And that helped with the sleep apnea for a period of time, too. I had a deviated septum. I didn't even know I had one, but I kept getting sinus infections. And they said, I think it's because you had broke your nose at some point. I did not know that. It grew back. It healed weird. And when they went in and opened that up, it did help for a while. But eventually the weight became the bigger issue. I wish I could have said that CPAP machine made a huge difference. I've heard those stories, right? And I hear those stories from people that I would like, you have sleep apnea? And again, when I hear that, it's because they're thin.
Yeah.
You always just assume, oh, you're thin, then you're in great shape.
I had that same kind of impression, right? And was talking to a coworker and made the comment that I'm on a CPAP machine now. And he was like, oh, I love mine. And again, I'm looking at a rail thin dude and I'm like, what? How in the way, and
how?
That is an interesting aspect of our society, right? Like, yes, if you're overweight, there's an element of not being healthy to that. But the opposite is not true, that if you're skinny, then you're fine. Like, that is just patently false. But our perception is so ingrained in that, but I have hope that at some point I can drop enough weight that then maybe I can give up the CPAP at some point. But for now, I'm very grateful to have it. It's made a tremendous difference in my life, and it has improved my health drastically.
So the CPAP forces air, right? Kind of. I mean, it's not oxygen, but it forces air, opens things up, I guess. I found the whole thing to be just totally distracting. I could not sleep with it on because you do feel a little bit like Darth Vader, right? You got the whole thing. You got noise.
The only time I'm uncomfortable now is if I do have a head cold. Like, sleeping with a CPAP with a head cold is miserable. And there have been a couple of nights that I've been so ill that I've just been like, well, I guess I'm not going to sleep well tonight. Because I cannot wear this mask with congestion. Because it's awful. So that's my one gripe with it still to this day. But 99% of nights, according to the CDC, then it's great. I have absolutely no problems.
But you look cool 0% of the nights. I'm going to guarantee you.
Yeah, you're right.
You look like a dork in your CPAP.
Yeah, I had one. The first mask I had, the hose came out of the front. And so my wife refers to that one as the elephant mask. And the one I have now, the hose comes out of the top of my head, which she refers to as the unicorn mask.
I did not know they had them with the hose coming out of the head. I can see where that would be a huge help, actually.
It is, yeah. It's my favorite version of the mask.
I'm glad you have your favorite CPAP mask.
We
all should have such
I'm just
hobbies.
A massive fan. I got T-shirts with this CPAP mask on. It's great.
No, the elephant like an X, like the Ghostbusters. No elephant mask. Unicorn mask is the only way. Did fixing your sleep, and I think you could call it that, right? With the CPAP.
Yeah.
You mentioned cognitively, getting better. Did you find that that made you less likely to overeat? Did that have other effects that improved your health?
Interesting question. So immediately after getting the CPAP machine, I put on about 15 pounds and could not consciously work that out. I hadn't changed my eating patterns. I hadn't changed exercise patterns, nothing. The only thing that had changed was the CPAP machine.
Were you stuffing it with chocolate like a muzzle?
Was that not the way to do it? I would
Mine's-
alternate chocolate and bacon is
Yeah,
what I would
okay,
do.
all right.
No, so I had a follow up with my sleep doctor, and I was like, "Hey, is there anything to this?" And he's like, "Oh, the CPAP 15," which I love it when doctors have cute names for things, because that's like, I'm in, like, oh, hey, it's not just me. And so he's like, yeah, he's like, when people start sleep therapy, they usually gain between 10 and 15 pounds. And I was like, why? He's like, nobody knows. I'm like, okay, that's a weird response. But then I had a physical with my regular doctor, and she's like, you put on weight. And I'm like, well, the CPAP 15. And she's like, that's not a thing.
That's not a thing. You just made that up.
So I don't know what the case is. It did regulate, though, right? Which is something my sleep doctor said. He's like, give it a month or two, you'll be back down to normal. And that ended up being true. But we did have some doctors fighting about what was really going on there for a while.
Was there any chance that your sleep CPAP doctor was like a figment of your imagination? Like he was not real. He was just sort of feeding into preconceived notions and things you wanted to be true?
Well, he did invite me to a fight club. I don't know. I declined the invitation. I did appreciate it, but I
His
think
name
it
was
fun.
Robert Paulson?
Was not. No,
Okay,
was
all right.
not.
For those that don't know, go watch. How can you? First of all, I feel like, did I just spoil a 25-year-old movie?
I think that's acceptable.
All right. It's been enough time. At 23 years,
Yes.
you're allowed to talk about how it turns out. I guess I could sort of see, like, you're feeling better. You might want to eat more. I don't know. I mean, I think that for some of us, just any excuse to eat more is we'll take it, right?
My pet theory about that, and again, our disclaimer at the top: don't listen to me. I don't know anything.
Right. You don't know anything.
But when you have sleep apnea, your heart is naturally beating faster, which burns more calories. And so
it's a
when
good thing.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. My heart rate when I was having sleep apnea, like that was an aerobic workout every night.
Right.
How come I was not the pinnacle of health? Like nobody's explained that to me yet. But so when I was on CPAP therapy and then my heart would beat regularly over all night, I was burning less calories, but I hadn't changed what I was taking in. So I wonder if that's like some kind of connection to it.
Your heart beats faster, the sign of ultimate health. If it only had beat a little faster, you would have continued to lose weight.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think, anxiety and terror, that's the key to unlocking good health. If I've learned anything from our conversation so far, got it. Let me write that down. Constant fight or flight is good for you.
Good. All right. Well, that's the first piece of advice that we've generated from this
We're building
conversation.
these are building blocks, right? The building blocks of health. Never relax. Both of us have fought our weight for our adult lives, and even as a kid, I did. I've recently, I mentioned this, I've recently had a weight loss surgery, and I would say it was mostly successful, right? It's one of those surgeries where they go in and they cut out about 80% of your stomach, because nothing says health, mental health, like saying I can't control myself, so I'm going to modify my body in a permanent way. This was a permanent thing, so I'll eat less pizza. But I did. I lost a significant amount of weight rapidly, and in that weight loss, the sleep issues got better. The sleep apnea, I would say, got better. There was a certain point where I went from, sounding like I was dying every night to just, I guess, sounding like a normal person. And I know it's not the answer for everybody, because I have met skinny people who are on the CPAPs, but it does go to show. Just how fundamental your weight is to, I think, every aspect of your health. And if, my health, if my weight was closer to a healthy weight, then I would consider, that would be the main measure for me. Like, even maybe more so than how I feel, which is kind of crazy, but like, okay, I look better. That's an outward indicator of health. I would probably put a little bit more faith in that than maybe how I feel. But I had gone through weight loss many times, in up and down, right? And I'm one of those people where your weight fluctuates by 10, 20 pounds, right? Just like 1 week I can be a weight, and then the next week I'll be 10 pounds less. Like I didn't do anything, right? And then I'll be 20 pounds more a couple weeks later. Sort of that late stage Elvis, bouncing around of weight. Which, by the way, I guess he did. I'm not making fun of the king, but he did have a severe issue towards the end where he would be like 20 or 30 pounds heavier over the course of a couple weeks, I guess. And it was all water weight. It's crazy to think about. Anyway, but I finally did get a hold of it. Many years I would lose weight. I would exercise. I would eat right. Like I'd find a motivator. Like like the big thing that I lost. I lost almost 100 pounds. I guess I did lose 100 pounds at one point, 15 or so years ago. I was trying to lose weight for a vacation because I wanted to really enjoy Disney World, and that's not a joke. So I found a motivator, lost a ton of weight, and I kept it off. I never got back up to where I was at my highest weight, which was over 300 pounds. Kept it off for many years, but when that was my motivator, though, and not just feeling better and being more healthy, it is hard to keep that. But I bounced around. Finally, I landed on this weight loss surgery, and it did help a lot. Like 50 pounds in about 2.5 months, which is a lot of weight rapidly. And I could feel better. I could tell that I felt better. I looked better. And certainly the sleep was a big outward indicator. My wife could say, "Hey, you sound better." Now, did I feel it though? Like the next day was like, "Oh man, that was a refreshing sleep." Probably not exactly. Maybe a little bit. Like if I'm, but not. It wasn't a night or day thing. And I've always been very jealous of those folks who say, "Oh, I put the CPAP on. I felt great." Like I want to feel great like that, right? But I couldn't quite do that with even losing the weight. Didn't do that. But I know you've been working on your weight. You've made some big changes in the last or in the last year, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it wasn't really motivated by the weight, which is a concern, and we all wish we were thinner, and I have varying degrees of where that is enough motivation, and then where I'm just like, screw it, who cares? I'm old. I'll just slide into the rest of my life this way. But what changed was my blood sugar. And I went to the doctor, and they did the annual workup, and came back, and I was pre-diabetic, and my A1C was too high. We have members of our family who are diabetic, and I've seen firsthand what that does and how you have to cope with that, and I don't want a piece of that, right? Like that's not anything I'm interested in. So looking at that, and my relationship with exercise is almost non-existent. I mean,
Yes.
part of my problem is I like being comfortable, and I hate sweating. So there's a very small window in spring and in fall where I'm like, this is perfect weather. Let's get outside. Let's go for a walk or a hike or something like that. And I'm perfectly happy.
And you got to the front door and like, oh, that was my walk.
Yeah. Hey,
I
made
made
it 30 steps. So yeah. No, but then very quickly it gets too cold to go outside, or it gets so hot that I'm just like, this is terrible. I can't stand this. Get me back to the air conditioning. So knowing that I'm having this pre-diabetic problem, knowing that I'm not inclined to exercise the rate that I should, I thought, okay, well, what is a way that I can do something to help this that I will actually do? So, I have gone vegetarian. That has been easier than I anticipated.
Not full vegan.
Not full vegan. Nope. Vegetarian. So I will still eat eggs. I will still eat dairy.
Yeah, but you can't afford to eat eggs.
No, that's true. That choice has been made for me. So I haven't had an egg in a very long time. But I'm doing that, and I have my follow-up visit with my doctor later this month, and I'm very excited to see how that has affected my A1C and my blood sugar. And truth be told, I don't know that it will. Like I did a lot of reading on this, and there's a lot of indications saying that yes, a vegetarian diet will help with blood sugar, but also there are plenty of vegetarian foods that are not good for, I mean, Snickers bars are vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
So not only going vegetarian and just doing that, but also actively eating better and making conscious decisions to where, if I'm having a snack in the afternoon, am I going to go for the chocolate muffin or am I going to go for the carrot sticks? And I've been choosing the carrot sticks, and I've been doing a really good job.
Have you been? Does
Yeah.
anyone really choose carrot sticks? I don't.
I will say I choose carrot sticks. I do not choose broccoli. And it's not that I don't like broccoli. It's just that it's like I'm going for a snack. I'm not going for broccoli. Like that's not the snack I'm going to pick. Carrot sticks, I'm okay with. I can have a carrot stick and be happy with that. But,
I cannot.
Okay, well,
A
to each
carrot,
his own.
yeah. I mean, and not that broccoli's any better, but they're just unpleasant.
Are there any vegetables you would choose?
Oh, with or without ranch dressing? Yes, there are a few, right? But I like cucumbers, which is
Okay.
devoid of any nutrition. It's just fiber and
water.
I think. And yeah, I like fruit an awful lot, but I don't love vegetables. I mean, I guess if you cook any of them enough, you put a little garlic, then sure you can make most of them passable. But
I'll tell you, this is my struggle, and maybe some of our listeners will identify with this. I love vegetables, like legit love them. My problem is they take so much effort. Like that's always been my thing. Like with a Snickers bar, you unwrap it and it's available.
Sure.
And it's ready to eat. And if I want a celery stick, I gotta wash it, I gotta chop it, I gotta get it prepared. I can't just unwrap something. Like that's my biggest struggle. Because if you hand me a prepared vegetable snack and a prepared sugar snack, I'm gonna choose the vegetable snack 99% of the time. Because I do legitimately like vegetables. It's the effort that goes into it. And so I've tried to do things like we'll have our day where we prep all this stuff and put it in Tupperware or whatever. And I don't even have the motivation and the focus to do that. So like a lot of times what I end up doing is like, I guess I'm really not that hungry.
Sure.
I don't need to go through the effort to do
a lot of
this.
work involved. I guess baby carrots are pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you get a bag of baby carrots. I guess. I don't know.
That's true. I mean, and that works for a couple of days, and then it's like, geez, kind of sick of baby carrots. What do I want? Like, and that's another thing that has probably contributed to my weight struggles my whole life, which is I'm not a picky eater, but I am a mood-based eater, right? Like I don't see food as fuel. I see food as, that sounds like it would be good right now, so that's what I want right now. And I've been trying to change that attitude some to where it's less about the experience and more about I just need this to stay alive. Like another thing that I'm really guilty of is if something tastes good, I'll eat it even if I'm not hungry. Because it tastes good, and so like I guess my tongue controls my appetite way more than my stomach does, and I don't think that's a healthy situation to be in. So I've tried to be a lot more conscious about, am I eating something because I'm hungry, or am I eating something because I know it's going to taste good? And going, and saying one's okay and one's not okay. And actually, the time that I've been eating a vegetarian diet, I've been able to do that more successfully. And maybe it's, I guess maybe my theory is I find it to be more filling food, so I'm not as hungry as often as I used to be. And since I've been on the vegetarian diet, I've lost about 15 pounds. And we'll see, fingers crossed, if it makes a difference on the blood sugar. But I had toyed with the idea of going vegetarian for a very long time, just because it is my preferred type of food. Like I mean, I really legitimately like vegetables and all those sorts of things. And I do occasionally miss, a big juicy hamburger and whatever, but it's not been difficult, right? Like, and you hear a lot of people that need to go vegetarian for health reasons, and they're like, "Oh, this is so hard. I miss everything." And I'm fine. Like, there's been one or two times where I've been out somewhere and been like, "Oh, that sounds so good," and I've made the conscious decision not to partake of it, and it's been fine. I haven't struggled with that aspect.
I'll make a suggestion to cure you of any cravings you might have for beef. Go inside of a McDonald's and experience the interior of a McDonald's for about 5 minutes, and you'll be like, ooh, no, I can't do this anymore. It is the most unpleasant experience in every way. It's an assault on your senses, and it turns you off of cheeseburgers. We had to go to McDonald's a week ago. I think it was a week ago today. We promised ice cream, and inside of the McDonald's, that was a big deal to go inside. And it was just such a bad smell. Like, oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
French fries still sounds decent, but putting any of the proteins in my mouth from that place.
Okay, so that begs a couple of questions, right? Because like I know my paltry move to vegetarian has affected my relationship with food, but your massive move with this surgery, how has that affected your attitude to food?
Gosh, it's certainly complicated. So I mean, like you, I eat based on moods. Eat when you're not hungry because it's delicious. You eat to calm yourself down, satisfy, whatever, right? And now, I get full extremely fast, and because you have a tiny little stomach, and not only do you get full fast, but it's like a painful, sickening full, right? It's not like it's not like I'm satisfied. It's like I'm in horrible pain, and yes, you can even throw up and yes, that has happened a few times because I just went a little bit too far, and it happens so quickly that you don't even realize it. Or you go from being, extremely ravenous, hungry to being totally painfully full in like a blink of an eye. So it's complicated it immensely, and it's actually kind of taken the fun out of eating, which is you listen, if you have a problem with weight, right? I guess that would be like saying, man, I really love that heroin. And whatever this therapy I'm on, it's really made heroin a lot less fun. It's not that bad of a thing, right? To make food less fun when you're a food addict or whatever. But yeah, it certainly is. It goes from really enjoying that first 2 bites to that third bite being like, oh, it was one too many, and now I'm sick, and I'm going to be sick for the next hour. So yeah, it's really complicated. And yeah, so you find yourself, I know for me, like, all right, I'll have a protein shake, and it's just not worth it to do much more than that. And that's how you lose weight so fast. So it does change that.
Has it also affected, like you made the comment about the smells at McDonald's? Would that have bothered you prior to surgery as well? Has it affected any like craving or like even the foods you liked to eat?
Oh yeah, yes. And it is the smells in particular. I one thing I noticed right away is after having the surgery is I feel like I had super smelling, right? Like I could smell like everything. Somebody would open a can of tuna, 3 houses down, and I would smell it. And I asked my doctor about it, like, hey, have I lost my mind? No, this is normal, right? That's when your body gets into a certain mode of starvation, it does, other senses increase, including smelling. So probably it has definitely turned that up to an 11. And things that, like, maybe the smell of McDonald's isn't something I ever really liked, but now it's gone from being like, not my favorite to being downright gross, and I could not imagine even eating it because the surgery has rewired certain things. But, hey, I'll take it, I guess, because I have lost a ton of weight, and I can fit into clothes. There was a whole section of clothing in my closet that I kept hoping I could get back into it, and all of a sudden those clothes, not only do they fit, but some of them are too big, and maybe comically too big. It is kind of a weird thing when you're losing weight. You don't want to go buy new clothes until you're done losing weight, because you don't want to settle, right? 2 things, right? You don't want to I don't want to stop, I don't want to cut myself short, and the other thing is it's expensive to buy clothes.
Sure.
So I don't know when to pull that trigger. But there is a psychological effect of looking in the mirror and things that did not fit or that were tied on you, and now they're loose, and you really probably shouldn't be wearing it on the other side of that. That is kind of motivating. But
yeah, so all your old Morrissey T-shirts, you can fit into those.
I had to throw them all out.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm the only 2X Morrissey fan. He is a vegan because meat is murder.
Well, yes.
I don't know if you're aware of that.
I haven't gone that far yet, but
okay.
Anyway.
I wouldn't mind to be a vegetarian. It's interesting because, we eat the impossible or beyond proteins sometimes. And the one thing about them is you don't ever get like a bad, fatty, gross bite when you're eating vegetables or you're eating plant-based foods. That's just not something, and that is a real turnoff when you're eating a piece of fried chicken. You get that bad bite, like, ew, I don't want any more of this. You don't ever have to worry about that with plant-based foods.
That's true. And I find it a lot easier to cook plant-based foods as well. Just because, you don't have to worry so much about precision. And in fact, like with the Beyond Burgers or the Impossible Burgers, I find that if you really just kind of hammer them in the pan, it makes them a little bit better even.
Yeah, they get a little bit of a crust.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Restaurants as a veterinarian. Yeah. Where can you eat? I just called you a veterinarian, by the way.
I eat at animal hospitals.
Yes.
And no, which seems contradictory to vegetarian. Anyway, where it has been a problem is restaurants and eating out. And if you're going to like a sit down restaurant or even just like a casual dining experience kind of thing, usually it's no problem,
Yeah.
and I'm not even talking about like, oh, I'll order the salad. Like, no, usually it's no problem. I mean, they've got options on the menu that are great and fulfill all the requirements I'm looking for and are tasty. The fast food is the problem, right? And so there's not a lot of places where you can get something. We went to a certain very famous chicken restaurant that a while ago.
Where they serve fillets?
In fact,
chicken?
yes.
Okay, all right.
They do. Yeah.
Not familiar with it.
So we went there, and I ended up ordering an order of French fries and a cup of mac and cheese, and I was eating it. I was enjoying it, and it occurred to me that probably in an effort to be healthy, I ordered the least healthy thing
Right.
that I could have
boy.
on the menu. So that was one of those wake up call moments. I will give a shout out to Taco Bell, easiest fast food restaurant to eat vegetarian. I think they accidentally tapped into that, and then a lot of people started making a big deal about it online on social media and stuff like that. And so then I think Taco Bell has really leaned into that and been like, yeah, absolutely. We'll swap potatoes for anything.
Right.
just let us know. So my Taco
Which a
Bell
fried
consumption,
potato, I mean, really,
Again-
it's not that big of a, it's not a great health-wise an upgrade, right?
It is not a great and that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, I can't just flip a switch and say, oh, I'm vegetarian now and I can eat anything I want as long as it's vegetarian, because that doesn't work. You can still make really poor health decisions eating a vegetarian diet. So even though I'm totally happy that Taco Bell is there and that they offer an option, and my Taco Bell consumption has increased, I'm not like eating Taco Bell 3 meals a day, right? Because that would be a bad decision. My sodium levels would be out of this world. You've still got to be thoughtful, right? The time in my life of I'm a little peckish, I'm gonna just run through this drive-through real quick, that's basically over. Like, that does not exist for me anymore, which in turn has caused me to make healthier eating decisions. So I count that as a win-win.
The spicy potato toff sauce. Potato toff taco?
Soft taco.
Spicy potato soft taco. That is still a great option.
It's
though. That's
very
open
good.
for you. It's delicious.
And I will say that the humble bean and cheese burrito at Taco Bell,
yeah.
Even before I went vegetarian, was one of my favorite things there. And it is still just an absolutely outstanding fast food specimen.
You cannot miss with Taco Bell. Whether you're eating, trying to you work off of a limited menu because you're vegetarian, or you're working, with like I am, like trying to cut out carbs, or you're it's 2 a.m. and you've been drinking all night, right? And there's something for everybody at Taco Bell. It really brings the world together, I'd like to think.
This episode of Two Middle-Aged Guys sponsored by Taco Bell.
Yes. I love it, and I have to. I'll always, if there's ever a question about what fast food restaurant is your favorite, it's always goes back to Taco Bell. I do like the place where they serve the fillets of chicken.
Yeah.
And A's, chicken fillets and A's, I think, because that particular place, and I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Has great diet lemonade too.
Yes, they do.
Because I can't drink. One of the things about the surgeries, I'm not supposed to have carbonation, so I haven't had soda. Like, I've had a little bit of soda here and there, but like, I was a 8 to 10 cans of diet soda a day. And now going from that to basically nothing is, talk about a lifestyle adjustment. That's probably the biggest adjustment.
Yeah.
And when I say 8 to 10, that's not an exaggeration. We would go and buy, there's a little grocery store up the road from our house, and I would go and buy 12-pack a day, or 2 or 3 12-packs every 3 or 4 days. And between me and my 10-year-old daughter, I mean, we would just put the soda away. Nobody else got a chance at it. I could probably drink 2 cans at once, right? Like just, like almost cartoonish. But now going from that to nothing, it's been funny that I have been struggling to find things to drink. Right, like I drink a lot of like diet, like or 0 sugar grape Kool-Aid now, because I don't know what else to drink. Right, so my options are limited. And I don't like water. I don't find myself drinking enough water because it doesn't have, it lacks both flavor and texture. So.
Yeah, I have a bit of a soda problem, and it is 100% the carbonation. Like that's my favorite thing about it.
Yep.
You know, and I'll drink a club soda and be just as happy as if I were drinking a diet soda. My relationship with sugar has also changed in that it's a lot more potent to me now. Since I've changed my diet. So like the other day I was like, I'm going to splurge. I'm going to have a regular Coke. And I was like, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do this anymore. So it's Diet Dr. Pepper is my poison of choice.
I love Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
I love regular Coke is the greatest beverage ever, but it's you're right. If you've been off soda or full sugared soda for a while and you go back to it, it's like a punch in the face. It's so powerful.
Yeah, it really is.
And I feel like Mexican food and pizza demand real Coke.
I can understand that.
I tell you, it is weird for us. We'll go out to eat now, and we'll order off the kids' menu, or we'll split a meal. But after a couple bites, like if I go to a Mexican restaurant, I have to limit chips and salsa. I can only have a few bites of it. Otherwise, there will be no meal. There will be no room left for a meal.
Yeah.
I would put away a basket of chips easy before the sizzling fajitas got to the table.
Sure.
You mentioned being pre-diabetic as part of the conversion process. Conversion, like a religious experience. Is diabetes like the health problem that maybe scares you the most?
At this phase in my life, yeah, probably. I mean, there are other things I can certainly think about where it's like, well, would you rather have diabetes or would you rather, there are times that I would choose diabetes, but out of problems that I am facing, yeah, I think it is probably the one that's most scary because it's almost like the canary in the coal mine, and if I can get that under control, then I feel like the choices that I'm going to make to get that under control are going to help me in so many other areas that are maybe areas of concern in my life. So it just seems like maybe that was what I needed to hear in order to finally do something, because listening to other people say like, oh, you should eat better. Or, oh, let's go for a walk. Yeah, I wasn't listening to that. So, it had to take the flare being shot off of my body being like, oh, I'm going to turn against you if you don't do something.
Diabetes is terrifying. I don't know if you can say that, maybe it is, but if that's the health issue that scares me the most, it's up there. And it's also very real. Like you said, it's the thing that you're facing where, everybody has the opportunity to get it. I'm very scared of it. Now, thankfully, I have never even been pre-diabetic, which is even at my least healthy, right? My cholesterol and my blood sugar, all that looked good. My blood pressure was outrageously high, but that's other things would cause that. My general anxiousness and being in pain from my back issues. But man, diabetes just terrifies me. And I if you asked me why, I don't know, right? Maybe it's just the fear of injecting myself with I don't know. Maybe it's just that simple, right? I don't want to give myself shots of the insulin, but there's something about it.
Well, and it can affect so many other things, right? Like if it gets out of control, I mean, organs start shutting down at that point, and
toes start
that's
falling
not a
off.
good thing. Yeah, exactly, and that's I don't want to do
Cognitive abilities, right?
Yeah.
Everything, nothing is left untouched by diabetes, which is really odd. And I always wonder, like, I'll find myself thinking about this. Like 200 years ago, if you had diabetes, what did you do?
You didn't have it because the lifestyle was so different. Like I really think that, and one of the I think one of the issues in our society is you can pick your belief and you can find evidence to support it. So I try to be very careful when I'm doing research, especially about health topics, because it's all over the map. And it's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to believe this article over that article? But, looking at ultra processed foods and the way our society functions now, and even the United States versus other countries in the world, the type of diabetes that you would have dealt with 200 years ago is going to be the you were born with an issue, not the you got yourself here
right.
type, which the type we're dealing with is the you got yourself here type of diabetes, which that's a clinical term, by the way. This type 1, type 2, that's garbage. It's you got yourself here type, and then the you were born with it type.
Yep. It is interesting, right? Like, we live in a great time. We have access to all these foods, right? And other times, and even other places in the world, obesity would not be something you'd be worried about. In fact, you'd be worrying about, how do I get myself put on a few extra pounds so that when the thin time comes, when there's not as much food, right, that I can live off my stored fat. And now we're cutting out parts of our stomach so that we don't overeat.
Yeah.
While also simultaneously complaining about the price of eggs. It's very bizarre place that we're at.
Indeed.
I think if you asked a lot of people our age, in our situation, middle class, I gotta believe that's gonna come out on top, right? What's a Family Feud, right? I gotta believe if we Family Feuded, what illness are you most afraid of? We'd be slapping
Diabetes.
the buzzer. Diabetes. And I know people with it, and they function, and it's not like I look at them and say, oh, that's no life to live.
Until recently, health is not something I gave a lot of thought to. And I guess as far as I would think about it is, I should be healthier, but I'm okay. And then, in the last 2-3 years, it's really been at the forefront of my mind. Like, I gotta get a handle on some of these things. And it's not that the warning signs weren't there. It's not that there weren't people or education or anything in my life saying, hey, if you live healthier now, it's going to be better later. I didn't consciously ponder it. Like, it wasn't even like one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm going to live forever, right? Like, it wasn't that. It was just like, I got other things I'm worried about right now. That's in the future, or that's not me, right? Like, that's not going to happen to me. And now here I am dealing with some issues.
And these are all things that we know, right? Like, you eat better. Mm-hmm. You exercise, get an activity, you're going to feel better. It's not rocket science, right? It's not like we discovered, something about the human condition that isn't already known and hasn't been known for ages. Yeah, I think that some of it is, and you mentioned it, we like being comfortable. Mm. Of course I like being comfortable. And part of being comfortable is eating what you want when you want, that freedom to make that decision. And, if you want to have that Hershey bar, go ahead and have it, because it makes you feel good, and not worrying so much about the consequences. It does catch up with you. And also, you think about diabetes, right? Like, if I had to have the injections, like, would I make better? How would I behave if I had to do that? Right? Would I stop eating sugar? I don't know. Right? And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm trying to avoid having to answer that question by not getting diabetes.
I'll tell you, I've thought about that, and knowing me, I fear that where I would end up is I would get to the point where I am now used to the injections.
Sure.
And so now it's like, it's no big deal, yep. And I worry about my personality that would be where I would take it. And I don't want to be in that position, right? Like, I don't know that I have the willpower to say, I'm going to skip this treat so that I don't have to inject myself. I think instead I would be like, well, I'm injecting myself, so I deserve this treat.
I'll have 2 of the treats. Yes, I worry about the exact same thing. And I think that there's a lot of people who have fallen into that trap, right? That, I got to do it anyways, and I'm going to enjoy the Snickers bars and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And pasta and all those other things that you're not supposed to have when you have that condition. Because why not? You're gonna have to inject yourself anyways. You might as well go for broke.
Yeah. So I'm trying to rewire the brain to A, not get in that position, and then B, if I'm in that position, to not fall into that trap. I would have made a terrible alcoholic or drug addict.
Oh, sure.
It would have been. I wouldn't be here. Is probably the
Yeah.
situation I'm in.
Are there good alcohol? I mean, like
That's a fair question.
That sounds like a personal judgment, but is there a good way to be what? I think the answer is probably not.
Yeah,
I think what you're saying is you would not have survived with the condition long. You just leaned into it.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about mental health, because it's a component of health, right? It's,
Sure it is.
Certainly how you feel in your mind is going to affect your body and affect your relationships and everything about your life. We don't talk much about work, and I don't intend to change that here, but is work the biggest stressor that you have? Is it personal things? Is that, is it like, oh, if I won the lottery or whatever, and I didn't have to work, do you think, man, I would be so much healthier? Or would you just lean into the candy bar eating?
Yeah. So work is a big one, no doubt, and especially with some things that have transpired over the last 6 to 9 months at my job that I won't go into. It's certainly grown in the list of stressors and things that I'm concerned about. There are some personal struggles as well in the family that contribute to that. But I often think that, probably incorrectly so, I often think that, well, more money would solve it, right? And I don't know that that's true. Certainly, there are times where it feels like if there was enough money in the bank that no matter what happened, you would be fine, like that would relieve a whole heck of a lot of stress. Now, the trick to that is that if magically my bank account grew to the point where, like, even like a catastrophic, house burn down failure, forget it. I'm just going to buy another house. Who cares? It's fine. Like, even if I had the wherewithal to do that, that would probably just open the door for different stressors. And I'm speaking very personally for me, right? Like, I know how my brain works. And it's like, here is a problem that I've identified that causes me a lot of stress. Once that problem is solved, it's not a situation where, now I'm relaxed, now I'm on easy street. Now it's like, okay, well, some other crisis is going to fill that void. And I do struggle with some anxiety in my life, and I do have those types of mental health challenges. So whenever I'm approaching problems like this, the way I try to approach them is not of, if X were different, Y would be solved. Because I know there's always going to be a different Y, right? Like, there's always going to be something else. So instead, I try to deal with it as, here's how I'm going to get through this problem. And here's why I know it's going to be okay. Because I can look back at my life and I can say, here are all the other crises that I did not think I would get through, and I did get through them. So I know empirically that this next crisis, chances are I'm going to get through it too. And so I really make an effort to approach things that way, as opposed to approaching things as, well, if I just had this, then my problems would go away, because I know that's not true.
I am the same way, right? Like, I will just find the next thing. We all would like to try, right, to have the unlimited amount of funds, right? That's a problem I'm willing to give a shot.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's better than the opposite problem, which is,
Yes, it is.
right, constantly worrying about money. But I don't know anyone, I truly don't know anyone who's in that situation. And there are very few people who really are, right? It's. I think the answer is to be content wherever you are, to find that.
Yeah.
And just, keep going, which is, it's why we have spiritual lives. It's why we have, family that we love, and they provide support to us, and we provide support to them, and because all of those problems will never be solved. The answer is to find a healthy way to live with those problems, right? Because you'll never solve them.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the spiritual aspect of it, because we both are men of faith, and that is a way I measure where I'm at in my spiritual journey is that I have a core belief that my Heavenly Father will take care of me. And so if there is something going on in my life that I am stressed about or that I don't understand or that is that current catastrophe, if I'm getting swallowed up by that worry and that concern, then to me that is a lack of my faith. And I need to have more faith because I know it's going to work out in the end. And I'm just getting wrapped up in all of these loose ends, and I'm not giving myself the time or the opportunity to see once I'm through the storm. I'm just being completely blinded by the storm.
It's a very I think that most of us who are of faith, we try to find that grounding, and but no one is even you read in the Bible, right? There was a lot of worrywurts in the Bible.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, they struggled, right, and they weren't just floating through life happy as clams.
Yep.
So it's not this is just part of the human condition, right? It's not abnormal. But stressing about it to the point where it affects your physical health, that's probably where you have to find a way to draw the line and bring it back. If you're so worried that you can't sleep, that you don't eat, or that you eat to make yourself less worried, right? Use that as a way to soothe your fears. All those things tell you it's probably time to find another way through the problem.
Yeah, and something that I'm really think conversations like this show their value is when you're in the thick of it, having that realization and making that decision is nigh impossible.
Yes.
And so when you're not going through the crisis, thinking about, okay, these are the things I know, these are the things I can affect, these are the things that can be helpful, kind of like almost pre-deciding that this is how you're going to deal with it, I find is very useful. Because if I'm in the thick of whatever the situation is, and then I'm trying to work my way through it, oof, that's a rough position to be in. And I've been in that position before, and I try to learn and I try to do better and be more resilient the next time.
Question about supplements and medications. So we talked a little bit about Flintstone vitamins. Do you take supplements, right? Like natural things, right? I mean, do you buy into that? Right? Oh well, hey, this supplement, CoQ10 or whatever, joint health and all that. Is that something you find yourself really chasing information about, or are you highly skeptical of it?
I'm somewhat skeptical of it. The closest thing I will come is like protein powders, stuff like that. Like I will make that part of my diet regimen, I guess you would say. But like I don't do a lot of vitamins. I don't do, like AG1 is like the new thing I hear on all the podcasts.
What is AG1?
I don't know, some kind of powder that if you drink it, it'll cure.
You'll live forever and have no worries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not that bad. They're not making those kinds of claims, but that's where my skepticism is, right? Like it always sounds like snake oil to me.
Yes.
And I don't know. I've tried some things here and there, and I have not seen any benefit or anything like that. I think that eating that carrot or that celery stick is probably going to do more for you than drinking the $40 powder that somebody sold you.
But by drinking that powder, you've provided jobs to people who are selling the powder and making it. Yeah, I am highly skeptical of supplements to the point where it's unhealthy, right? Like that I disbelieve them. There's probably a whole lot more value in them than I'm giving them credit for. But
I made that comment earlier that you can choose a belief and you can find something to support it out there in the world. And that's a rough position to be in.
I'll ask this. Do you think that we can chase health too much, right? Like, I don't want to say being too healthy, but where it becomes the attempt to be healthy becomes unhealthy in and of itself. We obsess about it.
Oh, you can do that with anything. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. You could start a podcast where you talk about movies and video games and music and
nonstop.
Yeah, and it's just that's not good. I think you can focus on anything, hyper focus on anything too much.
Yes.
Where it's going to become unhealthy. And yeah, I think you can turn health into something that's unhealthy. Because there's the old adage, moderation in all things, right? Like, I mean, those are adages for a reason. And I put a lot more belief into that than I do, oh well, this, here's your exercise regimen, or here's the diet that you should be eating. It's like, you know what? If I just did not gorge myself on anything, whether it's food or exercise or entertainment or, I'm going to be a much healthier person just by practicing moderation, no matter what the topic is.
Does the world of, like, I hate this word, but influencers, right? This, the online society. Do you think that magnifies? I do. I think it magnifies it, right? Because, now being healthy is that's some people's whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. And they're trying to sell you that even healthy people, they're trying to tell you you're not healthy enough because you're not exercising. You should probably put in another 2 hours a day and have these 8 additional supplements that I'm going to sell you, by the way.
Personally, it doesn't affect me at all. Like, I'm old enough that I'm past the influencer culture, and I just look at it and I'm like, by virtue of you being an influencer, I'm already tuned out. I'm not interested. Right. But I do think that is a problem in society, and I think there are a lot of people who are susceptible to that. And just having somebody on camera profess, oh, this is what you should do, and they're like, well, obviously that's what I should do. I do think that's a big problem in our society, and I think it leads a lot of people down roads that is not going to go well for them. I'm probably too far the other way, which I'm like, man, you're just an influencer. You're just trying to get me to take these things, and my doctor's like, actually, they're antibiotics, and you really should take them. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Jonas Salk was the original influencer with his polio vaccine. That guy. So I'll give an example. Have you ever heard of the Liver King?
No.
Okay, so stop, Google it right now, and listeners, if you don't know who the Liver King is, Google him, and look at this fella.
Oh, wow.
Is this guy healthy? It doesn't look healthy to me.
Yeah, there's a difference between being healthy and being able to, break me like a twig, I guess. I don't know.
Right. There's a certain point where that might actually be putting a little bit too much stress on your heart to have that much muscle. And there's also controversies about the guy. But it's interesting. He sells supplements. He's, one of that in that world, right? So his whole identity is around, it's around eating liver, raw liver. That's why he's called the Liver King. But it's around, selling you the idea that you're not healthy enough. Yeah. And just be more like me, and you can for the low price of whatever those supplements cost.
I'm gonna go back to what I said about moderation, because like that's not an example of moderation. I mean, that's taking something to the nth degree, and I'm not sure that anything taken to the nth degree is a good idea, even if it's like ultra health taken to the nth degree. It's probably going to be taking time and attention from other aspects of your life that you probably should be devoting time and attention to. If we're boiling all this down to, for lack of a better term, a philosophy, like that's how I try to live my life, is like, I do have a fairly obsessive personality. And when I feel that kind of engaging into that gear, I really try to stop myself and be like, oh, okay, wait a second. Am I, is this something I should be investing this much time and attention and energy into? Or is this just my brain has flipped that switch and it's trying to engage at a level that I probably should not be engaging at? And like I said, that goes to everything in my life, whether it's health or whether it's entertainment or whether it's how I'm, how much sleep I'm getting even. Like I can become obsessive. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I got to take a nap. It's like, well, are you tired? Oh, I didn't think to ask myself that question. I just know that it didn't meet my checklist.
The numbers didn't line up.
Exactly.
Yeah, and having these wearables doesn't help with people who have that personality.
No.
Like, oh wait, I didn't, I got to get my calories in. I got to get my steps in. I got to get my protein in. I need 48 seconds more of sleep. I only ate half a raw liver today. I gotta finish up that raw liver in the fridge. So I think that what I've concluded from this conversation is that health is bad.
Yeah.
Stick with me here. Carrots are good. I don't understand that one. And eat the chocolate muffin. No,
Okay.
I feel like all my notes are confused at this point.
Well, listener, if you were able to get something more out of this episode, drop us a line. Tell us what we missed, what we need to figure out, or what your experiences have been. I'm guessing that most of our audience identifies with things that we have called out, or if you are not currently experiencing them, you will have, or are about to.
Let us know, right? Are these anxieties or whatever? Maybe that's not the right framings about health. I think that's just part of getting older, and you want to go into the last third of your life as feeling as good as you can.
So where can they find these two idiots, Dave?
Two middle-aged guys, the numeral 2, middleagedguys.com. And of course on Facebook, just search for Two Middle-Aged Guys, and you will find us, interact with us. Go to the website, shoot us an email, check out our YouTube page. All of our episodes are posted on YouTube. Put a comment out there. We'll respond to it. Definitely interact with us, because then we'll air your comment out and embarrass you and embarrass ourselves. That's a good way to get the listeners to engage.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's looking for in
Yes.
today's world of connected entertainment.
Yep.
Well, Dave, I wish you good health, and until next time, signing off.